Welcome back, everyone. Another cool little Airfix. This is one that I did have to dig out of the stash. As you can see there, it's something really cool. It's a US Army Air Force Mosquito. This is from September 1944, 635th Bomb Squadron, 25th Bomb Group, 325th Photographic Wing. So this is a photo recon plane. It's been in my stash a long time, so you can see the damage on the box there. I have no idea what happened there. I can't remember. I think probably from memory, this is about 4 or 5 years old. And one thing you'll have noticed there, at some point I have come through and just done cockpit green. One of those habits, I think if I've got a kit sitting there near the bench while I've got extra paint in the airbrush, I'll come through and just use up the paint as much as anything and get ahead of some of that. When I know it's going to be cockpit green or something and I've got it sitting there, it just seems easier. This is a really nice kit. I got to say I enjoyed it. It's 1/72, so it's not super detailed or anything like that. Just one of those funny little things. You get all those little nibs or whatever they're called on it. That would be about the only complaint, and really that's a minor one. It's almost amusing good if you want to make some sprue glue or something like that. Fit and everything generally pretty good. I wouldn't have any issues recommending this kit at all. I'm not sure about the latest Airfix Mosquito. I think it'll be just the same tooling. So no issues there at all. One cool thing is just the color scheme on this, and I have to admit I don't remember seeing it when I bought it. The one on the box has that RAF stripe tail one, but this, what would you say, this blue and red just looks really cool. And like I say, just something different. It's easy to forget that they were pretty tightly coupled, the Americans and British at the time, US Army, Air Force and RAF. There was a lot of collaboration, obviously. So yeah, to see a Mosquito flown by the Americans is really cool. This is one of those ones as well where there's a lot of camera ports and so on there, which adds a little bit of work, but yeah, it just looks cool. Like you can see there, the tooling, even for a little kit, it's pretty good. And I was thinking as I was building this that really, if Airfix can't do good Mosquitoes, Hurricanes, Spitfires and Lancasters, yeah, it's time to give up. And definitely this really, I'd say, keeps that standard up there for sure. There's nothing I can complain about. As a reasonably, what would I say, an intermediate kit, you can see you get a fairly nice cockpit layout here. The cartograph decals, all of that. So yeah, absolutely nice little kit. I probably will pick up the more recent one at some point, but as color schemes go, yeah, this is pretty sweet. And you can see there's a fair bit of drilling in this fuselage just for all these different camera ports, and to me that's not a big complaint. This was one of those 3 mil, I think 2.5 mil holes that I had to drill, and went and got some of the bigger hardware tools out there. One nice thing, they do supply jigs in this kit, so there's a few more ports there that go through. I'm not exactly sure. I assume different cameras and things were put there at the time. But to get it all lined up right, yeah, they supply that jig, as you can see. Interestingly, that to me, a drill, which I bought the other year, I don't use it for everyday stuff, but when I've got a bunch of things like that, yeah, it's pretty handy when there's a lot of drilling. You can see here the fuselage goes together pretty sweet. No dramas at all. And interestingly, when I look at the Mosquito without the wings or any flight surfaces on, it really has a really, what would I say, this sounds really stupid, but it's almost got an animal sort of fish kind of shape, which makes me think of the aerodynamics. So kind of interested to hear your thoughts on that. This is one of those ones I started to use my glue. It was getting a bit thick. If you don't know this trick, you can use the Tamiya airbrush cleaner to thin down your glue. In this case, this was just the thick stuff anyway, but over time it gets a bit too thick for what I was wanting to do with the wings. If you over thin it, easy, just leave it open a little bit, let it breathe. So there's these little nubs, which I guess, I'm not sure the technical name, but yeah, they're a bit of a pain, but if that's the biggest pain that I can complain about, yeah, it's pretty cool kit. One thing I'd say, don't forget to subscribe. Yeah, it makes a big difference. Lets YouTube know that I'm not dead and people do watch the videos. The interesting way of building this was to use the wings as essentially jigs to get the undercarriages lined up, and that works fine. No dramas there at all. And that was part of that, thinning that glue just a little bit to what would I say? Make it go a bit further, well, not go a bit further, but spread a bit easier on those internal wing joins. So you can see I always use a mix of glue. I think a glue, like anything, is right tool for the job. There's times when I do like to use just the standard cement, and then I'd say probably 60-70% of the time I'm using the thin cement. So here's a good example in those engine nacelles where, yeah, you would, at least I'd use the thicker cement because you got to get it set up. There's nothing really there. There was a bit of fiddling around with the tweezers and getting those, I guess, engine firewalls and stuff in place, lined up, but yeah, not a big deal. You can see there the fit is really nice. There was nothing crazy fit wise, that's for sure. And the whole thing just goes together really nice. So you don't have any wing root problems, anything like that at all. It was really quite a nice little kit to put together. Definitely one of those ones I would do again, and as I say, recommend. Interestingly, I've got it on the shelf actually. I probably should have shown it, but I have the Tamiya Warbirds, which is a nice little mosquito, but just I think I'd probably lean towards the Airfix one just a bit. What I'm doing here is I'm using it's water-based latex, which is, I think it's there you go, Mr. Masking Neosol. The reason I use that is I can thin it down, and then by essentially, dilute it with water, a bit of toothpick, and I can dab it onto all those ports and so things. And then also the other thing is where there's edges on the canopy where I've taped, say those curved edges and things which are hard to get, I can just put it a little bit in the corners. This was probably the only bit where there was a little bit of a gap. It was easy enough to come along with some plastic card, slide it in, glue, and then slice it off when it was set. Never even noticed it. Interestingly, I have had a few dramas with my compressor recently, which I got fixed. Basically, I got a leak in the water regulator, and I've just spent, I'd say, last couple of weeks, I had it, my settings were really cool for a long time, and then as I guess reset everything, it's been a bit of a grind getting back to a setting that I'm happy with. One nice thing about this kit, well, really nice thing, is Airfix does give the measurements to do the invasion stripes. So it's like 8.4 mil and so on. I didn't get down to, what would I say, 1/10 of a millimeter and stuff measurements, but I think I roughly did 8, which was near enough and nice enough for what I'm working with. So you can see here, yeah, I just scribed in, I think, 8 millimeter bands, and works nicely. I think the hardest part there was, especially on the fuselage, getting some of the tape square. There was a bit of fiddling around with that. The wings itself was easy enough. And this is an interesting one where they only did the undersurface, not the upper surface. I'm not exactly sure why. Sort of makes sense to me, to be honest. I guess, like I think in one of the other videos I did mention that they were delaying doing the invasion stripes till a day or two before. What I'm doing here, and this is probably worth mentioning, is I'll come across very lightly in the first instance on some of that masking, and that just almost seals the edge, and then later on I can come back and sort of gun it a bit. It depends. So you can see there I've basically done a white undersurface, and that was really with the knowledge that I'm going to have that red coming down on the tail and the aft section of the plane. The white will be much better base for that than if I was trying to do red on blue. I can't remember the exact details, but you're getting into some of those color chart problems. It would just really darken the red if I did that over the blue. So I've decided to do the tail first, and then you can see here I'm just coming through with intermediate blue. This is one of those standard, what would I say, period US blue colors. I use it on Hellcats and all sorts of stuff. Oh, I did also, before the blue went down, I did just use some green over the canopy. That just gives that little nicer bit of finish. If you were technically looking on the inside, you'll see just the green framing from the inside. So yeah, there's a bunch of masking, and the blue goes down. At this point it's looking pretty cool, really. There's no great surprises. This is always the fun bit with a little bit of anxiety, and that's pulling off the tape. Pretty happy with how this come out, actually. Big chunks of masking, probably more masking than I was anticipating when I started it. But at this point, yeah, you get a bit of a kick when you see it come out sweet like that. Definitely no problems there. And I wouldn't even say it's a big drama. If you do get a little problem here or there, you can always touch it up. Airfix in this kit was really good because they did have, like you can see there, masking and all of that. So from a build or an engineering point of view, it was pretty nice because you could do the undercarriage, take them out, put those masks in, and then come back, do it that way, as you can see. Come back and glue the undercarriages in separate. So you weren't messing around trying to mask undercarriages and all of that. This was just putting on those wing tanks and so on. At this point, yeah, I'm almost done, I suppose. Like I say, really nice kit. Yeah, I'd probably lean towards this one over the Tamiya one. The Tamiya one is nice, don't get me wrong, there's no issues there, but I think Airfix probably just has the edge in just the extra detail and so on. And I think the Tamiya Warbirds ones are getting a bit dated at this point. Someone can correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, but yeah, like I say, I just got this vibe about it, or this thing about it, where if Airfix can't do a Mosquito or a Spitfire or whatever, it's time to give up. Yeah, Hurricane, Spitfire, Lancaster and a Mosquito, that's like bread and butter. So the decals at this point, you can see that, yeah, it's all really looking nice. And in fairness, these decals also were really nicely done, because what they did, and this is why I think this is a cleverly engineered kit. Even on the decals, they added a little bit of blue edging, which just, if you didn't get your masking exactly right, it gives a nice square edging on those fuselage stripes. So there you can see it coming together. To be honest, I really adore the red and blue. One cool thing, and this is why I got a real thing for P-47s and stuff, the color schemes that the Americans used at that time were super cool. Just coming through, doing the antenna, and I've painted it. That's just some braid, and there you go. Really, really nice little kit. I definitely recommend it. Definitely do it again. Hope you've enjoyed that. Yeah, what can I say? Nice plane. See you in the next one. Thanks again.